if you're a Penn State fan, I think you have to feel pretty good about how that last game went. Obviously, you'd want to win that game, but you have to feel pretty good about how that played out. This is a Penn State team that I think a lot of people were expecting Oregon to just walk all over, and they didn't let that happen. And not only did they not let that happen, but they put up some points, and that offense looked pretty good. There's certain things that we'll talk about today to explain why Penn State can beat SMU in the college football playoff. And that last game told me a lot about both teams and how they played and what Penn State needs to do to advance to the next round. This is a Penn State team that has played competitive with everyone, and even in their losses, you look at the Ohio State loss, the 20-13 loss. That was a game which was an absolute dogfight. They were in the Oregon game for pretty much the entire game. I don't think there was ever a point where I think that you probably felt that Oregon was going to win, but at the same time, Penn State was not lying down. They were fighting till the very last play, and that's something that's very promising, and we'll explain why here a little bit more as we go on to certain other things. Penn State is an 8-point favorite against SMU, and honestly, when you look at these two teams, that shouldn't be super surprising. It's just a matter of how do you take advantage of that, how do you not let that get to your head, and how do you execute more than what SMU will do. Now, there's certain keys that we'll talk about. We talked about kind of what SMU needs to do. I think the biggest thing for Penn State is limiting explosive plays. This is a defense that is one of the best in college football, and SMU is an explosive offense. 34 plays of 30-plus yards. That's tied for 10th most in college football. That's how good SMU is at making things happen, making explosive plays happen. They're a really good group that can get the football into the end zone very quickly. And if you're Penn State, you have to find ways to slow them down. You have to find ways to take them out of their game. Limiting the explosive plays is going to be a big key. And going along with that, being disruptive. If you watched SMU play Clemson, one of the biggest things that Clemson did, which helped them a ton, was getting to the quarterback and play. That offensive line for SMU is definitely a group that you can take advantage of if you do it right. And Penn State has the athletes up front to make that happen. And how do you limit explosive plays? You don't give Kevin Jennings time to throw. You collapse the pocket and swarm him where you don't allow him to get the ball off. You don't allow him to take off and run. Those are things that you can do to ensure that you're going to win this football game. The other thing is win the turnover battle. SMU is very good at forcing turnovers, but they also turn the ball over quite a bit this year. They've had 21 turnovers this year. Penn State, while their turnover margin wasn't anything crazy, they only committed 12 turnovers. They forced 12 turnovers as well. So a 0 turnover margin, isn't anything crazy, but they kept everything pretty much in check. They take care of the football, but they're also a group that can take the football away from a team like SMU, and that's going to swing momentum in your favor. And I talked about this in the SMU video. Getting to Kevin Jennings in the pocket allows you a lot of opportunities to get the ball back for an interception purpose, but also his ball security in the pocket isn't the greatest. So there's definitely opportunities for guys like Abdul Carter to swipe at the ball. Danny Dennis-Sutton has been really fun to watch for them as well. You have a number of players on the defensive line for Penn State that can make that happen. That's going to be really fun to watch and exciting to see how they take advantage of that. Drew Aller has to be a factor. If Penn State wants to make a run in the college football playoff and or win a national championship, Drew Aller has to be a good player for them. He simply cannot just keep handing the ball off. And again, back to my earlier point, the reason why I'm so optimistic about this Penn State team in the college football playoff is you saw part of it was Andy Koltnicki and his great offensive play calling, but you saw Drew Aller and what he's capable of doing. You know that he can make some of these throws, which means that you can balance out this offense and you can make teams have to worry about everyone on the field. The scariest version of Penn State has still yet to emerge, and Drew Aller is going to dictate when that version of this offense does come out. And he has the tools, he has the ability to do it. It's just a matter of everything coming together. We talked about the rushing attack. We know what the passing attack is capable of doing. We know that the wide receivers can make plays, but can you get Drew Aller comfortable early, and can you make him be a factor in this game? If so, you feel pretty good about Penn State's chances in this game and in this playoff bracket. Now, when you look at the players of Penn State that you need to watch, it pretty much is obvious. There's a lot of guys you could talk about. Nick Singleton and Katron Allen are going to do their thing. They're going to do what they do best, and they are as consistent as you get as long as they're healthy. If you keep them on the field, give them their opportunities, you're going to see big plays. Singleton's absolutely electric, finally getting healthy. Katron Allen obviously is just as good. Again, Aller is going to dictate a lot about the success of this team, and he's going to play a huge role in moving the ball down the field. Now, the one thing I'll say for Drew Aller is that SMU's secondary is not the strength of their team. That is one thing that if you're a Penn State team looking for a weakness in SMU, the secondary is definitely that group. If you're able to take advantage of that and do what you did against Oregon secondary, that is very good. If you can do that against Oregon, you can do that against SMU. That's a big reason why I'm excited for Penn State. I think you saw something click. Maybe it's enough to get Drew Aller to play to that level that you want him to. Penn State fans are waiting for that. We've seen flashes of it this year, and I think maybe a performance against a really good team is maybe what you needed to get your season going, getting the postseason going. Tyler Warren is a dynamic threat. We've seen him do everything all year. I think everybody's talked about him a ton and his versatility with his offense. Over 1,000 yards receiving, though, still. With everything we talked about, I think that's a really exciting production for this offense. The defense, though, I think everybody's been getting excited by Andy Koltnicki. Tyler Warren's been really good. The rushing attack's been really good. Penn State's defense could feast. This could be a matchup that benefits Penn State quite a bit. Abdul Carter has been one of the most disruptive players in college football. 20 tackles for loss, 10 sacks. He's been absolutely disruptive, explosive player for this defense. Jalen Reed, same thing. I think that he has the opportunity, thanks to partially the guys up front, but also his abilities to make some big-time plays, create some turnovers. That's really where Penn State is going to thrive. And again, this defense, I feel really good about the matchup that they have. But at the same time, you have to be careful. This is an SMU team that can torch you in a heartbeat. And Clemson found that out the hard way in the second half. And if SMU does not make the mistakes that they made in the ACC championship in the first half, this could be a back and forth game. And then it comes down to who makes the first mistake, who blinks first. Kevin Jennings is dynamic. We've seen him use his arm a little bit more lately, but his legs are also a major factor. If you are Penn State, you have to find ways to make him uncomfortable and create turnovers. That's going to be a big key for this team. 3,050 yards passing for him, 22 touchdowns, 379 yards on the ground, 5 more scores. Brashard Smith might be the most dangerous player that Penn State has to worry about. This is a guy who has over 1,200 yards rushing, 14 touchdowns. He's a former receiver who, if I'm SMU, I'm finding ways to get him more involved in passing attack, because you don't have to teach him, like most running backs, how to be a receiver. He already knows how to do that. He's proven that he can be a good running back. That is a scary player if you're Penn State, and I'm sure that they're going to prepare for that. But he is someone that I would worry about, maybe more so than Kevin Jennings. Roderick Daniels has stepped up for them in a big way. The defense has been a little bit different in the second half of the season, but definitely plenty of playmakers that could be a problem for Penn State. Again, if Penn State's offense is balanced because of Drew Aller, you feel pretty good. But you look at guys like Kobe Wilson, Ahmad Walker, Jonathan McGill, those are guys that have created problems for the teams that they faced, and they can do the same thing against Penn State. So Penn State has to find ways to make them uncomfortable, force them to be disciplined. I think Penn State has a lot of opportunities to make SMU uncomfortable and put them kind of in bad positions. That is something to keep an eye on and something that Penn State could use to their advantage. Again, this is a really exciting result in the Big Ten Championship, short of obviously winning the game. But if you're Penn State, you feel pretty good about what you saw in that game, and you're hoping to take that energy, you're hoping to take that confidence and put it into the college football playoff. And from there, who knows what can happen.